Wexford town, tumbling around itself all the way down to the harbour. I was born here. And the first view I knew was looking across the mouth of the Slaney. Mussel boats all lined up, ready to set off into the great seas beyond. We never thought about going back upriver, because as children we heard that our closest neighbours upriver were called Scalders. Enniscorthy was a town I had to wade through to get to Dublin, the inhabitants to be avoided at all costs. But now I want to find out more about the place and discover why the world knows the locals here as Scalders. Where did that name come from? Before leaving the safety of Wexford town, I decided to meet author Peter Murphy, now living here but born and bred in Scalderville.
I think there's a slight difference in psychology between Wexford and Enniscorthy. Wexford was always artier, a little more open. We're a bit madder in Enniscorthy. We're a little more landlocked. We're sort of like the Midlands of the southeast.
Peter explained the geography of Enniscorthy meant there were two distinct sides to the town.
On our side it would have been, metalheads and goths and new romantics. On the other side was teddy boys.
Okay.
I used to go visit a mate of mine up in the Esmond Road, and you would take your life in your hands walking across the bridge wearing eyeliner with hair down to your backside and to run the gauntlet of teddy boys along the quay. And the violence is casual and climate level.
Finding out that Enniscorthy had its own civil war on either side of the banks of the Slaney was news to me.
Where in Enniscorthy are you from?
The top of the town.
Ah, okay. So this side of the town to you would be known as what?
This is the Shannon side.
Okay. And what do you think of the Shannon Siders?
Not a lot. But not put that on telly tonight.
Cyril Wheelock grew up in a tiny parish near Enniscorthy, and even that had its own divisions.
Like in Davistown, you had the top end of the parish and the bottom end of the parish, and you have Davistown and you have Courtnacoody, the half parish, and that's it. And Courtnacoody is Courtnacoody and Davistown is Davistown. And you look at it from here and you don't distinguish one from the other. From a distance you don't distinguish one from the other. Yeah. But when it's in close, when you drill down into it, there is a difference. Yeah.
So, there are Farsiders and Shannonsiders living here. But why do we call them all Scalders?
I never knew the true origin of it, and I always thought it was kind of a violent word. And the first novel that I ever wrote had a working title called Scalder. And I only relatively late in life started to research, where it possibly came from. And the most plausible explanation that I could come across was to do with the scalding of the pigs in the pig factory there, and that so many people were employed there. It was a means of removing the hide of the pig, I think, was to scald them with boiling water and peel it off. Yeah. Knowing the nature of the town and even just the sound of the accent, there's something about pulling the skin off a pig that resonates.
Following up on Peter's lead, I went to one of the oldest butchers in Enniscorthy.
So I'm from Wexford town.
Yeah,
so when I wanted to...
that's your own problem. No, I can't do anything for you in that one though.
So when we wanted to, when I was...
Stafford's has been here for over 50 years, and I asked Killian about the scalding term as it was used when butchering pigs.
Doesn't really go on a whole lot more. They tend to burn the skin off them now, or burn the hairs off them. But the whole idea was that you would scald the pig, so therefore the hairs were easy, and they would basically scrape off the hairs then. And that's the whole idea of scalding the pig, that you were basically opening the pores that you could take the hairs off it, yeah.
Before leaving Killian, he pointed me to an older origin of the term scalder.
Were you ever called a scalder?
Probably was, yeah. Probably about 2:30 in the morning, probably down below Wexford or something.
What do you know about that word? What's your association with the word scalder?
Well, sure, obviously it is an insult or an affectionate term, whatever you want to call it, for people from Enniscorthy. The only thing that I know about it is that apparently it dates from sometime a rebellion thing or something like that, and basically scalding the English or the whatever else.
Throwing scalding water onto the invading British forces. This is a new origin story, going back much further than Buttle's barley-fed bacon and pig processing in Enniscorthy. With two origin stories gathered, it was now time to ask an expert.
I'm pure yellow belly, yeah. I was just thinking about it. I actually, on John's Gate Street, my family goes back 4 generations on John.
Dr. Crogher O'Crulig is the Chief Place Names Officer. Full disclosure here, he is from Wexford Town.
We always use the term scholars as well, yeah.
And like, you wouldn't have meant it as a compliment when you call someone a scalder.
I wouldn't have been always pejorative either. It was just the term that we used.
They're scalders, kind of.
Scholars, yeah.
They're from Enniscorthy.
Didn't understand why they were called scholars. Just that's what we called them, was scholars, you know. I'm sure they had names for us as well, you know.
While Crogher got to grips with some of the stories I'd collected, I decided to cross the bridge and see what was going on the Shannon side of the town.
There was definitely a division, may have been over women, and they'd all say to one another, if a fella from the far side was going out with someone from here, the Shannon side, or you're going up to Shannon for the red tea. Now, I don't know whether we didn't have milk or we just made strong tea. I don't know which it was.
Enniscorthy people are known as scholars. I don't know why, but I've heard it said Wexford people use it a lot towards Scotland.
To rise up. And do you have any idea where it came from?
It must be real old thing, I think. I'd say it came back from probably a hurling matches or something like that, you know.
The hurls were nowhere to be seen at the morning gathering of the Scalders Bowling Club.
I wonder where the name originated from, how it became a name, like, you know. So then people say to you, Buttles, barley-fed bacon. Like, as a young fella now, when I'd be fishing, I'd be always down the back of Buttles fishing. You always got the seals, to be call them, and be watching the boys scalding the pigs, get the hair off them. They'd be into a scalding bath or put them on a rack then and scald them to go along.
No, not really. I wouldn't have been aware. I only found out the other day that these guys are called the scholars. You know, yeah.
The stories were years ago that they threw the water out through the top windows, boiling water, scalded whoever was. They had problems with it. I don't know who they were, but that's who it was.
Back at Market Square, I met Emily de Rochta. She has links to Enniscorthy going way back.
My great-grandfather, beg your pardon, was from Enniscorthy. I discovered that in the 1901 census.
Emily has an even older take on the origin of Scalder.
My take on it is, I believe it's a Norse word. It comes from the word scaldi, which means a bard. So Scaldi is, the bardic tradition is huge, both in Celtic culture, in Viking culture, and even in Norman culture.
So now we've gone from pig processing to revolutions and all the way back to the Vikings. It's time to unravel all this and get back to Crogher. The first question for Crogher was to start with the Viking origin. Has the name been around that long?
It's not even feasible now, I'm afraid to say. The people of Norse background who lived in Wexford would have been speaking Irish. And this is not unusual, this is not something strange. If we look at the Norse who settled in Normandy, within 2 generations, they were completely French speaking. You know, the Vikings in general normally adapted linguistically very quickly to the areas where they settled in.
If not Vikings, what about throwing boiling water on the British soldiers? Or the butchers in Buttle's pig factory?
Well, from a linguistic point of view, it's sort of plausible, but I wouldn't really, you know, I wouldn't bet my life on it either. In linguistics, normally the easiest explanation is very often the best explanation. That's linguistics are all about economics. That might sound strange, but economics is economy and language. So things are generally actually the simplest explanations. It would be normal in Wexford Town English anyway to say somebody, he's a scaldy boy, right? And if somebody is a scaldy boy, the actual, if you put on the agent suffix, which means the person who is scaldy, that's er or er. A scalder is somebody who is a scaldy boy. I'm not saying that's correct either, but I would sort of think that it's something simple like that, as opposed to we'll say scalding pig flesh or whatever. The reason being that we were scalding pig flesh down in Wexford Town as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to head upriver. You're probably going back to the safety of Wexford Town.
Exactly.
It's hard to know what the origins of the word are, but Crogher's focus on the simple explanation seems to ring true. This was a term that us locals in Wexford coined for the people of Enniscorthy, the Huns looking down on the neighbours upriver who were denied a sea view and were a bit scaldy about it. While hanging out in Enniscorthy, there was one scalder I met that really took me in, Jamie Murphy.
So I'm from Wexford Town, right?
Hi, how was your ma? Your ma keeps you lovely, huh?
I come up here and I call you a scalder.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
That wouldn't bother me at all. I'm very proud of that. I'd get it tattooed on me if I could. I've always been proud to be from Enniscorthy, and I'll tell anyone who listens I'm from Enniscorthy, because like...
Whatever I thought scalder meant, I definitely have a new appreciation for it now, and for Enniscorthy. So it's only fitting that the last word on all of this goes to Jamie.
It's the offer of a slice of Cooney's bread, a walk up the 21 steps, the look of devilment on Spock Jordan's face after getting a new bike, winding down to Shannon, thinking about the old house, Charlie Cullen and the Saturday Beano, the smell of chips from Antina's, and the walk over the bridge to Redmond's for the breakfast and the chats. I might call into Hooley's for a small one, head up Beda Castle into the market square, spotting your face in the Debs photos and eyebars, tipping your hat to Father Murphy and the lone croppie as to point out Canuck Fuinagare. Swing by Mousy Nolan's for a handful of shaky Mickeys, or a cap gun. Up to where Ogie would sit and weave magic on the shoes up the twisty lane. Up to Pig Market Hill, up to the Duffrey, either Donahue's or the Rasher counter. Poor old Joe. Another scalder that went too soon, leaving a huge hole in the heart of the town. It's your ma, your da, your first shift, your first broke heart, your first Pontino. A scalder. It's in Enniscorthy. It's home.